Yesterday and the day before, we talked about we were going to have a guest teacher here for writing. The guest that we have, her name is Miss Funk. She is here to do one of our writing lessons today, the one that you are writing for. Okay, so you have your draft, you have your sources, and you have someone perfect. Okay, so please come on over with the head. Okay, good. I was feeling a little scared. Okay, good. We're not twice this way. That's good. Okay, so there are lots of people watching me mostly, but I'm going to need you guys to do awesome to make me look good. All right? This is all really about you, but they're watching me. So as long as you do a good job, I'm going to look good. Are we cool? Are we cool with that? Okay, so we're going to get started then. So let me get my timer ready here so I don't talk too much, because sometimes I talk too much. So this is my first ever 2-hour delay as a teacher. As a student, I used to go to sleep at night begging for snow days and 2-hour delays. And as a teacher, this is my first winter in Ohio teaching and working with students and teachers in schools. So today was my first 2-hour delay, and I was actually kind of sad when I found out, because I missed the first graders this morning, but that's okay. I like fifth graders way better. Anyway, so it ended up working out great. So that's exciting. I know that you guys have been working on tons of writing this year. I know you do writing all the time, and you're doing tons and tons, and I know that right now you're working on writing that's really special, and really special to each of you, because you're writing about something that you feel really passionate about, something that's important to you, something that you believe in, something that you want to stand up for or fight for, right? Okay, so when we're writing things like that, we're like activists. Have you guys heard that word before? An activist is somebody that's trying to fight for something or trying to do something that feels like it's going to make things better, okay? And as persuasive writers, as writers writing about research-based ideas with evidence, we are being activists. We are trying to prove something that we feel really strongly about. Okay? And I know you've been doing a lot of this work. I know you've picked your topics and you've been researching and finding evidence and facts and things to put into your writing, into your essays. Correct? Right? Okay, good. Whew. Good thing I have the right thing ready to teach you. So today what I want to teach you is that you can use all you know from all other types of writing that we've done. So I know that we're writing persuasive and opinion pieces right now, but you know how to write informational, you know how to write narratives, you know how to write all kinds of different types of writing, and we can use all of that to help us, even though we're writing persuasive. So I want you to think back to narrative. We wrote narrative this year, right? You probably wrote a personal narrative, stories about your life, right? Think about that writing you did. What did you learn? What did you do to make that writing really good? What were some things that you remember learning about narrative to make your writing good? Some of us are like, that was way long ago. Who knows? Others of us are like, oh, I remember I wrote that story. Maybe you added a good introduction. What were some things that made that writing better from your original drafts? What were some things? Turn and tell your partner something you remember from narrative. Oh gosh, we don't know which partner. It doesn't matter. It's not important. Just turn to someone near you and make sure everyone's talking to somebody. So we can do groups of 3. Join somebody. All right, writers, I'm going to stop you because I heard lots of good things. Can you tell me what you shared?
I can't remember what.
Oh my gosh, it was so good. Can you tell us what he shared with you?
To include lots of detail and appealing words.
What did you share?
Grab their attention with like.
What did you say? It was a big word.
To elaborate.
Okay, so these are all things that make our writing good no matter what type of writing we're doing. Then we worked on Lens of History. Do you guys remember that unit of writing? We were writing about westward expansion. You knew it. Gosh, you guys are good. I'm impressed that you remember that. Okay, so that was informational writing. We were writing to teach other people about something that we were learning, right? Or something that we were getting more information on. What were some things that we did in that unit that made our writing better and good? What do you remember?
We printed our draft and then cut them up in separate pieces and then glued one piece on every page.
Why?
To elaborate.
Okay, so again, elaboration.
I forgot what I was going
Okay,
We researched and we took notes of what we thought that was important.
researching and taking notes. One more thing, do you remember?
We get their information from other books.
Okay, so not just researching maybe online and in places where we research, but also thinking about other books that we've read and getting information from those. Okay, so we know lots and lots of things. Today I want to think about small moments. When we wrote our narratives, how many of you remember hearing small moments? Okay, some of us, most of us, okay. So small moments, we thought about that when we were writing our narratives. We wanted to zoom into one piece or part of a story and really elaborate and tell good detail. We call it a small moment. How do you think small moments could help our writing that we're doing right now? Why do you think maybe putting a small moment into this writing would be helpful? Maybe why? Can we turn the projector on? Why do you think? Turn and tell your partner. What are you thinking? Okay, let me stop you again. A lot of us are thinking about things like detail, elaborating, it's evidence. It connects to our readers, maybe. Maybe we can make a connection with them. Let me tell you what I was thinking. It's persuasive. If I can get you to feel something about something that happened in my life, this small moment, we're human, right? Isn't that going to persuade you a little more, maybe? If I know who my audience is and I try to share a small moment that's going to get them, right? So let me share with you. I brought my writer's notebook with me, and I'm working on, I'm a teacher, right? I'm working on persuading my principal to let me bring a dog to school. Okay, my audience is my principal. So we're going to do a quick turnaround because I have it projected over here. So because I want to share it with you. So my big idea here is teachers should be allowed to bring well-behaved dogs to school. And I say well-behaved because we don't want dogs that are going to be like acting crazy and biting people, and we need them to be like calm, cool, and collected to keep us calm, cool, and collected and not wild and crazy. So I have some reasons. I'm thinking of my reasons that I want to support. And my reasons are, they can help students focus, they are so cute, they can calm humans, they have really good senses about things. So this is what I'm starting to think of reasons. And I still need to do a lot more research and get my evidence ready. But then I was thinking, you know what? I was a principal one time. I can hit the principal in the heart. I can really get her to think, oh, this teacher might be onto something. So take a look at my small moment here. I added in a small moment. My small moment is going to be with my help students focus reason. I'm going to use this. I'm really going to get to her. My principal loves reading. She thinks and knows how important reading is. And if we can get kids reading, we can make magic happen. That's something that she believes. And I agree with her. I think she's right. But because I know how important reading is to her and all students reading, take a look at my small moment. I'll read it for you. For instance, at Warsaw Elementary, young Sadie finds her reading partner, Fletcher, an 8-year-old black lab. Settle down, Sadie says. It's time to read. And Fletcher does. First, he waits for Sadie to choose a book. Then he waits for Sadie to lean against him. Then, for the next hour, dog and child read together. This story is sad, Sadie said at one point, tears running down her cheeks. Sadie leans closer to Fletcher, and he licks her face and snuggles against her. Sadie continues reading. Fletcher helps her focus. With Fletcher as her partner, Sadie could read forever. What do you think about my small moment? Is it going to get my principal's attention?
Yes.
Is it going to make her be like, oh, wait a minute, I got to think about this? Now, I need a lot more, right? I need to show some evidence. I need to get some real proof. But this is one way that I can try to persuade by using something that I already know about writing, zooming into a small moment. So I want you guys to think about a small moment. Think about your topic. What is it that you're trying to prove? You got that in your mind?
Yes.
Think about a small moment that maybe you can add into your essay to persuade your audience or to support what you're trying to prove. Give me a thumbs up when you feel like you might have an idea. Okay, some of us have ideas, some of us don't quite yet, and that's okay. Remember, this is just an idea to make our writing even more powerful. We may not want to do this, depending on what our topic is. Okay, if you have an idea, turn and share it with your partner. Partners, if you don't have an idea, just listen in, okay? None of you guys have an idea? Share your thesis with your friends. Maybe they can help you come up with an idea.
I said probably last night because I was up till like 12. So we can do math easier. We need to be able to solve math easier. The calculator and all that. And we also need that so we can play games when we're in the bath.
Okay, writers, I'm going to stop you. I'm hearing some stories, I'm hearing some small moments. I'm hearing some of you even talk about other things you know good writers do, not necessarily small moments. We can use anything we know as writers to make our essays, our persuasive essays, these research-based ideas, even more powerful. I'm giving you an idea of small moment because that worked really good in my persuasive essay because of my audience. So I want you to keep that in mind as you're working today, that might be something that's powerful that you can add in. Okay? So if you have one to add in, we can get that added in today. If not, we can keep working on our work. Capiche? Off you go. Whichever way you want.
Wait, there's a cord on my desk.
My phone don't work. So we should
My phone, I don't know if I can help you. It's on my desk.
I can tell you. Is anybody else who do it? I can totally
Who's your audience? Who are you writing? Who are you trying to get to understand? Okay. So adults, people that are in charge of making those decisions. So that's your audience. And what are you thinking as a writer? How are you going to make this happen? What are you going to do in your writing? What have you done already? Okay. So you've gotten some interviews with friends. You've gotten some great What? Let's think about you gotta be on this job, work a job. What do you feel like you get put into this piece? It's really going to connect with you. It's really going to feel like this is something that you need to think about. Okay, so maybe getting into some background on why it's so popular.
Okay. Good stuff. That's not good. What else? What's in there?
What to do in these parts. Yeah.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that potentially is not safe. So this is really important here. So we need to make sure that safety issue is big. Okay, so what can we do to make sure he understands how big this safety issue is? How are we gonna put that?
You could, in an article, you could put a new article that says, "Go there and questions."
Okay, good. So that is involving him in making him feel like someone's reaching out and he's gonna have to think about this and talk about it. That he's kind of being called out. Okay, awesome. I think that's a really good move. Thank you. Keep going. I want to talk about our audience. So first, remind me your topic. What's your topic? It's not helpful. So you want no more homework. What's yours? We need more recycling.
Bus changes.
We need some bus changes. Okay, this is big. Okay, so these are all school-related things. Tell me who your audience is. Who are you gathering all this information to present to? Who can help make these changes? Okay, principal, teacher. Okay, so teachers and principals. What do we know about teachers and principals?
Principals are in charge of the school, and teachers are like the second people who are in charge.
Okay. What else do we know? What kind of people are teachers and principals? You've been teachers your whole life. What kind of people are they? What do we assume about teachers and principals? Do we know where do they work? In schools. Who's in schools?
Teachers, kids, and principals.
Okay. We're going somewhere. What kind of people are teachers and principals usually?
Here to help us kids learn.
Okay, they care about kids learning. What else do we hope about teachers and principals? They're nice, always? Usually, right? What else do we know? What do you feel like? So we know who our audience is, and we all have similar audience. We all either teachers or principals, or maybe both.
And even bus drivers.
Also working with kids, right? Care about safety. Okay, so if that's our audience, when we're doing our writing, we want to really reach our audience. We want to find a soft spot in our audience to really hit them in the heart and make them feel what we're feeling. What maybe can we do to get there? This is hard.
I'll write a draft.
Okay. So we can use our teachers and principals to our advantage in a way. We can share our draft and see what their reaction is. That's kind of like pretty smart. That's using it in a way to help us get our point across. Okay? Okay. To really reach them. Like what? Do you have any typing example? Okay. What's something that your teacher loves? Okay, that's good. Teaching. So we gotta get something around teaching. So your point is that we should not have homework, right? Because that is important to board. Uh-oh. She says it's big.
She says she likes sports.
Do you see how she's working our teacher? Like she's taking something and she's using that. She's thinking, well, if we don't have homework, we'll be bored. And we know being bored is good because we gotta gather some evidence around that, right? Because we can't just say it. We gotta find some evidence that says, yes, boredom is good. Not just, Mrs. Humphrey says boredom is good. We can take it another step and we can do some really strong research. This is gonna be big. Because how's she gonna say no to that? You're agreeing with her. Right? Okay, what are our ideas? We need teachers and principals to be on our side, right? We want them to agree with us. So we have to really reach them. We know they love to teach. We know that's important. That's big. How can we remind? Maybe it's been a little bit since until play at recess. Right? It's been a little bit since we've been to recess. How can we bring them back to recess and how important and fun that is? Okay, how maybe could you do that in your writing? How can you do this?
You could say like something about like how many programs to have
Okay, yeah. So you could start saying something like, remember when we used to have recess and it felt so sad when we had to go inside? Really getting into those emotions and making them remember what it's like. You've got to reach them. And we have to make them feel like, yeah, I remember that. Because that makes them connect to your idea. Right? Okay, that's good. What about, let's help you with, what's your bus safety? So your audience is a little different. Principal, maybe some bus drivers, right? Any ideas? What do you think a bus driver's number one goal is as a bus driver?
To keep everyone safe.
Okay, we've got to zone into that.
And get everyone to school and back home.
Okay. And what could he do in his writing? with his audience in mind.
I never probably should have those tiny seeds on this.
And how is that going to be?
Because it's going to. Because. Well, I'm just getting annoyed by the kindergartners.
Okay, so thinking about, okay, we don't want that. That doesn't keep anyone safe, right? The kindergartners are like, oh, you're picking at us. They're the worst. They're cute. Okay, so let's think about that. How can we, what's an idea we have?
Craziness could distract the drivers.
Okay, do you think the bus driver's going to be distracted? No, that's a way to reach them. Their goal is to keep kids safe and get them to and from school. They do not want to be distracted. That's something that we can add in that's going to reach them. Right? For the rest of us, reaching your teacher and using something to their advantage to make them be like, you got a point. Right. I agree. We've got to get those little pieces in to make our writing even more powerful. So using dialogue, using boredom, using distractions, zoning in, giving a small moment story, talking about, remember when you had recess and how you felt and bringing those emotions into it. Okay, we all have an idea of how we can do even more powerful work. Really. So that's what you're trying to do. How are you doing? What are you trying to get right? So you got some music down, and what are you going to try to do as a writer to bring this to the next level? Cool. Awesome. So you're as smart as mom is, you're about to do it. And you're sharing that as how. Are you feeling stuck?
I've already done the second. I already done it in my second paper.
Okay.
But on my first paper, that's done the. I don't know what to do for the cons.
Ooh. Do you have your planning? Did you do any type of planning down there?
Well, I have 6 pages of research.
Wow. I'm going pretty well.
Into as a cost sorting, what type of sources to do list, the main type of reasons why,
Okay.
and the plan and research.
Okay, so what's your next step? What do you need to do right now?
Well, I'm trying to do my graph, but I really have no idea what to do for costs because I don't have that much.
Do you have to have a lot of cons?
Well, I have so many good reasons for my first and second reason for why we should have this kind of cheese. But I say yes.
Okay. So what if you just have one con?
Well, I was planning to make 6 paragraphs.
So you want six?
Intro,
You want 6 cons?
to pros and cons, and a conclusion.
Okay, so you want a whole paragraph of cons. That's going to be kind of hard. Right? So I think we're going to have to go back and think of another con. One way we can do some research is, do you have some friends in here that ride a bus?
Well, yes,
Okay.
but there are some people that ride bus seats.
Okay, but okay, so that one's different. But you might be able to get some cons by asking some of your friends that ride a bus, hey, what would be bad about assigned seats? Because these are some bus riders in here, and they might be able to give you some really good ideas for your writing. So I would maybe ask some friends around you. Say, hey, what if you had assigned seats on the bus? What would be bad about that? See if you can get some ideas. Maybe.
So you're saying I should go to everybody that rides a bus and ask them what's bad about.
Maybe that's one way to do some research. You don't have to go to everybody. You could pick 1 or 2 and start there and see if you can get some ideas. How are you doing? Okay, tell me what you're doing with words.
So, what's your first?
Yes, I'm seeing this. So all around. Tell me what you think. What you think.
For the first challenge, any principles?
Yes. Physics? Okay. I don't know very much physics.
Miss Sandy regularly just assigned
So what are you trying
random
to do?
seats who people don't like. So everybody's maybe for everybody.
Okay.
So sounds like he just made it worse.
2. Okay. Okay, so you've already
So
got me.
I could already pretty much imagine.
What are you trying to do to showcase this work in your writing?
Pushing each other, switching, Insane.
What are you doing what are you trying to do as a writer to make it even better, to take your writing to the next level?
Mainly just trying to, not making either one better, but trying to kind of deny it up. Make it worse. Or worse.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I hear you saying that you're trying to add in some bias, you know, after.
Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah. You want whoever reads this to believe that your opinion is the correct one. Right? Okay. So, who's the audience? Who can help make this decision, or who can help make this happen? Okay. So let's keep that in mind. So what can we do in our writing to really reach the person? To really prove your worth and do
Make it seem more
Okay. Let's get a little more on that. So, we know what principals in charge of school, right? We know school learning habits. We know that this is going to make work. I think that the principal has other authority. When, let me give you an example. When I do something really good, I want to brag. You would really prefer to do that? So could we make it so if this would happen, it would be something the school would brag about? Because from other schools at this school, or would this be something special? So it's something that we can brag. Possibly, maybe, so when you think about your audience, think about how do I get the audience to believe the same thing? Yes, exactly. I've got to figure out a way to do that and really make a connection to get them on board. Does that make sense? I'm going to give you 30 seconds to finish up the idea you're on, the thought you're on, the sentence that you're writing so you don't forget. But we're almost all out of time. So quickly finish the sentence you're writing, the word you're writing, the idea that's in your mind. And once you've done that, you're going to bring your writing and come back to the carpet. Alright, I feel like writing time went really fast. Do you feel like that, or do you feel like it was normal? Okay, kind of fast, kind of normal. I just feel like we just left to get started writing and now all of a sudden we're done writing. but you really were writing for 25, 30 minutes. That's a lot of writing time. So that's really good. But I feel like it went too fast. I wanted to check in with more of you, and I'm out of time. I know. What a bummer. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to close up our session together today. And I want you to think about what you wrote today, what you added on. What did you do that made you feel like your writing muscles is taking your piece to the next level? Did you add a small moment story? Did you use something else or a different idea from another type of writing that you know? Did you check in with a friend and see what they were doing and try to borrow their ideas? What did you do today? And some of you today, you might have just taken more time to keep working on your drafts, and that's okay. That's okay as well, okay? But think about what was it that you did today? What was the big thing that you got accomplished today? And turn and tell your partner that. And then I'm going to have a few of us share out. Okay, so adding books, that's big. That's important. Putting them in the right places is really good. That's important. Okay. Good. Okay. All right, writers. I'm hearing a lot of good things that we were doing. Some of us were just trying to finish our draft. Some of us were trying to figure out where we want to insert some of this new stuff and really good stuff that we can add into our writing to make it more powerful. I want 3 people to share out what they heard their partner say. 3 people that want to share what their partner shared with them. 3 people. Maybe we'll do 4. Tell me.
They added a small moment to make their statement stronger.
Okay, we've got some small moment going on. Tell me what your partner did.
He was finishing up the draft.
Okay. Okay. Oh, I want to. Okay, a few more.
Okay, so she was telling me about the little name that she had when she was younger.
Ooh. Okay.
I basically brought a lawyer into my writing by studying the cons, finding ways to get around it, and basically breaking their defense and their offense at the same time, giving me the upper hand.
That's powerful.
And that's what you call checkmate.
You're right. And I don't know if you guys are hearing this. If you're not sure how to negate something in your writing, I know who you need to go talk to. I know whose help you need. You're right. I'm going to walk my writing right over and say, tell me where my weak points are. Tell me what the teachers are going to be like, well, I don't agree with that, and how do I make her agree? This is your guy right here. This is the helper you need in writing class, okay? Okay. I'm going to get in trouble. We're taking too much time. Tell me, quick.
My friend Jay over here, he said that he is getting everything done. It's just he's having one. It's just he's getting his conclusion. That's all he told me.
Okay.
That's all he told me.
A conclusion is super important. That's the last thing your reader reads. That's the last memory that's in their mind. That's big.
He was adding in more spider legs to
Maybe that's important. Maybe that helps his thinking. Good. Okay, writers, thank you for an awesome session today. Your writing is amazing. You are writing really powerful things. And as activists, you guys have voices. Your voices can make big changes in our world. Okay? Right now, we might be trying to make little changes in our classroom or around our school, but this type of work continues on with us as writers through life, and we can make big changes. So awesome, awesome job today. Thank you for having a crazy schedule and letting me hang out with you today.
You're welcome.
Okay, good. We can take, do you want them back to their desks? We're going to need to go back to their desks 48 minutes. I had to let them share. Okay, so let's talk about, or tell me, what were some things you noticed, questions that you have?
When you were walking around talking to them, would you have wrote something down if you were the classroom teacher?
Not always, but almost always.
Yeah. What was some of the, what could you share? What would you? Because it was we couldn't hear you.
Right.
So what would you have written down during this little conferences you had?
I would have written down what they're trying to do. So when I conference with kids, when I'm working with them, I always want to ask them what they're trying to do as a writer. The only way I can help them get better is to understand what they're trying to do. I can see what they're doing, but a lot of times what they're doing is not what they're trying to do. And they need work around what is it that they're trying to do. Like, I'm trying to add in a small moment, or I'm trying to find evidence for my reason, or I'm trying to elaborate on this. But we can't always see that from the work they're producing. So we have to figure out what it is that they're trying to do so that we can support them in being able to do it. So I'm always asking what they're trying to do, so I always would take notes of that. So that when I follow up in my next conference a few days later or next week, I can hold them accountable for that. So you were trying to do this when we met last time. Can you show me how you did that, or what your next step was, or how you added that in, or where are we with that?
But I have low riders,
Mhm.
and I don't think they can verbalize to me. I mean, they're verbal, but I don't think they know what they're trying to do. You know what I mean? They're
Yes.
just going through the steps.
Mhm.
I mean, literally, we put a template up for them, and they literally write the
Copy
template.
the template. Mhm.
And
Like what Aaron said, I'm just trying to write 6 paragraphs.
exactly, I don't think. So how do I approach them?
Using those tools. So you have you have your chart up, you have the template up, refer to that. Once they get in this habit, they'll be able to do it. What most of them do in 3rd grade today, and a few of them here, when I said, what are you trying to do as a writer? They read me their thesis and they read me their first reason. And then I said, okay, that's great. Now what are you trying to do as a writer? Because that's not the answer I'm looking for. I really want them to think about what it is they're trying to do. So if I can't get them there the second try, I'll say, okay, are you trying to write your thesis big and bold? Are you trying to find evidence? Are you trying to add elaboration? Are you trying to add detail? And I try to figure it out what it is that they're trying to do.
So through questioning, you're trying to guide them?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm trying to figure out what they're doing so that I can then guide them. Because sometimes it might look like they're trying to write their thesis, but they might be trying to do something else. And if I don't know what they're trying to do, I can guide them in the wrong direction. Especially for our struggling writers.
But we have to be very careful about the language we use, because I'm not so sure if I said, no, what, how do you want to write this thesis or something like that? They're going to look at me like, what the heck are you talking about? Heck's a thesis.
Mhm.
So I have to be very careful how you know what I mean?
Mhm.
The language I use, because the vocabulary is not.
Right. And yes, so we can absolutely say, and I'm sure I said it today to a few of them, tell me what your idea is. What is your opinion? What are you trying to prove? We can say it in any way that we want. Those types of words that we want to get them using, like thesis, we want to continue repeating them over and over and over and over. But absolutely adjust your vocabulary, the frame of the question, so that it meets your writers where they are. And make those adjustments. We want them to be successful, but we absolutely want them to start thinking as writers of what are they trying to do. And sometimes it is, oh, I'm on step 2 and I'm trying to add a new sentence of evidence. And that's okay. That's what they're doing. It doesn't have to be, I'm trying to persuade my audience that. We want to eventually get them there, but we have to move back in that questioning to where they are and where it fits. And we want to get them thinking about what are they trying to do right now as a writer.
The time I saw you lead them is with Gavin, you're like, what will make it powerful? What will showcase it? What does that mean? What will go to the next level? You get to say, who's your audience? How can we prove it's important? Finally, he said, let me give you an example. I love to brag. You know what I'm saying? So like you gave him a lot of opportunities to tell you what he was doing and he didn't have the words for it. Mm-hmm. And then you appealed to everyone's, inclination to brag. And then he was like, oh, maybe they do. But it took some work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of times, especially in 5th grade and upper elementary, these conferences, we really do want them to be 5-6 minutes, one-on-one with kids. Sometimes it's small groups. Like I asked her to share with me a small group that I could pull, thinking about maybe who's not really appealing to their audience, who hasn't thought about that, or just something in general that we could talk together. And so that was my focus here with the 4 that I worked with. Who is your audience? Okay, now it's important that we reach them. How do we do
that was
this?
my question. Were they pre-selected?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes,
'cause I
yes.
wondered.
They were not
Okay.
random.
I didn't
I have my
think
little
so, but
post-it
okay.
here.
Their topics
Um,
were all about
School,
Okay.
yep. Yeah, we met this morning. She shared that information with me. And I definitely do, when I'm doing sessions like this, I'll pull kids at random. It never goes well because they're random. But this, we strategically talked about this, and I wanted to know so that we can model what a small group can look like. And you can do that with anything. Like, we have a few kids that are really stuck on, like, I'm really just trying to get 6 paragraphs. Like, I might pull a few of them back together and say, like, okay, let's put that to the side. Let's put that thinking to the side. Why are you trying to write 6 paragraphs? Well, I want them to know this is important. Okay, that's what we're trying to do. And we want to get them away from that structure of X, Y, Z and get them moving into, as a writer, how do I do this work?
And that's something that's difficult for them to decipher. Do I have 3 reasons? Do I have 2? Well, it depends on, because we were practicing trying to use articles that maybe they would see on their practice test. You're given 2 articles. But we can't tell you how many you have to have. It depends on what is provided in the article for your evidence and that kind of thing. And that's hard for them because they want to know, I have to have 5. I have to have 4. And if or 6 or whatever it is. So to get them away from that formality and just to go with, like you say, what am I trying to
And that's huge because we've created that. I remember being in elementary school and being told a paragraph must have 5 sentences. And I definitely was the writer that struggled, but I knew a paragraph is 5 sentences. So as long as I have 5 sentences, I have a paragraph, and that's what we're looking for. And now I'm like, gosh, I was the most annoying student because that's what my teachers were probably like, oh man, 5 sentences, that's not what we should have told her. You know what I mean? So this is a mindset change. Like, we do that often and we still do it. And some kids still need that. But we so traditionally have done that kind of work so that they're so accustomed to tell me exactly what it needs to be and I'm going to do that structure or I'm going to do that instead of using all those things as tools and guidance. Like, this is a way you can plan. This is something that sometimes paragraphs have. So we have to shift that mindset of writers, and that's not a day's work. That's not a week's work. Sometimes that's years of reversing habits and thought thinking for kids.
So you think it's the kids that have come up through this program, when we get them in the 5th grade, that maybe that thought
that mindset.
set will be better?
For sure, if kids are being taught through workshop from kindergarten, they will never know this structure of, oh, I need a 5-paragraph essay. They're going to be like, oh, what?
And our standard says multi-paragraph, it does not say 5 paragraphs. Introduction and conclusion. It's the only
Yeah, and they'll talk about that starting in kindergarten. I was working in kindergarten in Cleveland a few days ago, and we were writing introductions and conclusions. So it's something, and it spirals, and it's constant. Every unit, every grade level, back and forth, all the way through. But we take that permanent structure away, and we use that permanent structure as a tool for kids who need it. There's still a lot of goodness in those structures, in those templates, and that support. But not all kids need it when we teach them how to think.
I can say I'm probably the least versed in writing instruction of anybody, because I've not done it for very long, but my kids are not asking how long they have to be anymore.
Yeah.
They're saying when they have time, can I just work on my writing instead of, can I play a game? They've started to do that now.
Yeah.
Probably because I'm not saying you have to have 5 sentences.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's theirs. It's their voice, it's their choice, it's them writing, and they're writing with purpose. They're writing for a reason, they're writing to an audience. They know we're gonna celebrate the work. And that's huge for them. It makes it fun for them, it makes them want to do it and become part of their writing. Versus, write 5 paragraphs, why we should have homework. Well, not everyone cares. Like, at the end of the day, So giving them that choice, and workshop is all around that. Like, we never tell them. Now, we coach and guide them in conferences. And sometimes we have kids that we have to micromanage that thinking. But the majority of them very much can strive and thrive with voice and choice.
Oh, that's like when some of my kids are researching, should we allow
them in school, in class, you know, kind of thing. And so they were looking at the evidence and from the articles, and it helps you focus, and improves your memory, and it makes your jaw stronger. So
I love that.
it was a good conversation though, because who is your audience? Who are you trying to persuade? You know, Mrs. Miller, you know, myself. Who are you trying to persuade? Do you think saying it improves your jaw, makes it stronger, is going to want us to pick
Choosing your
and
reasons.
choose it and allowing you to have go? Because here I'm thinking your jaws are going to get stronger. You're just going to talk more, kind of thing. But it helped them to stop and think. Wait a minute. Okay, this is my audience. I really want to persuade them. My reasons really have to be narrowed down to. I'm doing it in class. I'm at school with it, and what are the benefits of that? But that was hard for them to, because they just thought.
They were just
reasons
looking
is
for
pull.
something in the article,
Three
because
reasons
we were
pull.
doing the same.
And so often, like previously, if they've not been doing workshop, that's exactly what we told them to do. You're gonna write a paper, you're gonna do an intro, and then 3 paragraphs. Each paragraph's gonna tell me one reason with examples and details of what. Without really thinking through, like, how do I make this better and more powerful? We tend to just teach, here are 5 paragraphs, here are.
And I think it's hard for them to want to add their voice. You know,
Yes.
to unpack what does that mean exactly? I mean,
I think that goes back to us always telling them.
yes.
Some of them are natural with it, some of them are not.
Right.
I think this is what you're gonna write about, and if they don't feel strongly about it or don't really care, their voices are gonna come out.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned that the structure can be used when needed, like for intervention.
Yeah.
So we've done intervention in a lot of different ways for writing.
Mhm.
Vic here is our intervention teacher in 5th, and sometimes she comes in to the classroom to support. Sometimes, because of scheduling purposes, she has to pull groups. With this program, have you seen things that are definitely better?
Not necessarily. I feel like because we're never giving them clear set guidelines, it's already naturally very differentiated. The problem I see with that is there's a lack of structure for some struggling writers that really need structure. But as long as we're giving that to them, whether it be through conferencing or interventions or a graphic organizer or giving them a sample of exactly what it looks like and the planning that got us there, supports them, usually. In terms of pulling students out and pushing students in, I've seen that students really can benefit from working in the classroom with the mini lesson, because we're always teaching the mini lesson to everyone as a tool or an idea or a trick to make their writing better. I don't necessarily expect nor want all of them to put a small moment in. Small moments don't fit for all of them. But I do want them to know that they can use things that we've learned in other types of writing to make this writing also powerful.
So in the first 2 units, we did different kinds of note taking. We did Post-its, we did T-charts. In the last writing, I let them decide how they were gonna take their notes. Were they gonna write in the margins? And I was surprised at how many different ways, because usually we say we're gonna use a T-chart, you know, and everybody uses a T-chart, or we're going to do bullets or whatever. But they all chose what was gonna work for them best, and it was very different for everybody, but they really were taking notes effectively. So that was a real positive. Because I've always worried, oh, they won't take notes or they won't do it right. So you have to use this T-chart. Let me show you how, and then that's what we're all gonna do. So that was stepping out
Yeah, absolutely.
of my box.
And that's another thing as teachers that's hard. We tend to decide what kids will and won't or can and can't do. So many times I've been like, there's no way my class can do that. And I just didn't try because I was sure that they couldn't. And now in hindsight, with more experience and as more of a veteran teacher, I feel like I hindered their ability to show me what they could do, and I hindered them as writers and readers because I decided that they couldn't do that, so I didn't share it with them. And in hindsight, I'm like, some of them totally could have done that. But that is also letting go of that idea of, if I'm teaching this, all of you are doing it. If I'm teaching this, all of you should be able to master it. And that's not what we're trying for. We're just each day giving them one tiny thing that they can use to make their writing even better. Sometimes none of them will use it, and that's okay.
Our sharing for that day was they just shared with their partner how did they take notes with their writing partner. So I was shocked.
Yeah.
So I'm just.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they all did take notes.
Right.
And back to that intervention piece, that like the student examples that are provided, those are so powerful for kids that really need that. I love that about the program.
Yeah. And definitely I would take pictures of some that you can use in the future, because that's even more powerful. When it's like, oh, let's look at Brandon's writing, but it's like, let's look at Johnny's writing. Johnny's a 6th grader now. Because then it's very real to them, it's very relevant to them. And in time we can start to collect those good examples and samples of writing.
Yeah, that too. So, yeah.
I think some of the bad examples have been really powerful
Yes.
too. And they're looking at it.
Yeah, like how do we make this better?
Right,
How do we help Johnny? Yeah.
I have a question then. How do you assess then? How does that translate to the grade card? I mean,
That's my hardest.
when do you assess? What do you assess? Do you assess on totally what they're doing by themselves, or after conferencing, or a combination? That's a huge struggle.
Yes. That's a huge question, and we talked about this yesterday at one of the other Mount Vernon schools. So because we're not standards-based, and we have to translate all of this to a number, it is so subjective. So my suggestion is making sure as grade level groups we're talking about this, because I could be a 4th grade teacher, you could be a 4th grade teacher, we're teaching the exact same thing, but our grading can look totally different, and that's really unfair for kids. So we have to be careful. We have to make sure that this is a group effort, and maybe it's across 4th and 5th. We all decide this is what we're going to try in terms of grading for writing. My suggestions are, do not work harder, work smarter. Don't make this crazy on yourself. Like, you cannot go home and read every person's writing every day to get a grade. Don't do that to yourself. Make kids do the work. Let them self-assess. Use your conferencing sheets to take grades, thinking about the teaching points in mind. So picking one teaching point this week. This week we've talked about 4 different ways they can make their writing more powerful. In the conference today, I'm going to conference with everyone just 2-3 minutes, and my question to them is going to be, show me in your writing how as a writer you made this more powerful from something we've learned this week. You might point to the anchor chart and say any of these would work. Can they show it to me? If they can show you that, they got it. They did it. And it can be a scale. We were standards based, so we used a 4-point scale. So a 3 was we're where we need to be. A 4 was you exceeded expectations, way above. A 3 is where we want you. The problem with a 4-point scale when we convert to numbers is if a kid is getting everything just at grade level, that's a 75. That's not fair. So it's hard when we're converting to numbers. So I've worked in schools that did like a 10-point scale, and everyone used the same little rubric. Like a 10, they exceeded expectation. Exceeded it, like, wow, you took this to the next level. Like, not only did you write to your audience, but you really talked about something that was wise, because you know I love boredom. And so now you're hitting me with boredom and why we need to have no homework so we can be bored. Like, to me, for 5th grade, that's taking that to the next level.
So then that 10-point scale then, are you looking at then the whole piece of writing?
No.
Okay.
Just pick something. We can't grade everything. So, but I would try to do something weekly. So thinking about all the teaching points, or thinking about an anchor chart and then titling it that anchor chart's title. Or if there's something specific, like that you're really looking to hone in on, like wrote a strong lead. Grade that just as one tiny thing. And then when we publish something, we usually use one of the rubrics. My experience has been that those teacher-y rubrics, if we use them for real, for data and information for us, their scores are going to look really low. Because that really is expecting bots. But the student-friendly ones that they check off, like not yet, starting to, or yes, I've oftentimes used those as a grade. So yes is a 2, starting 2 is a 1, or 1, 2, 3, and then add that up, and that's a grade for their final piece. Considering that, this final piece we've revised, we've edited, so they really should mostly be at yeses at that point, or at least starting to. So I feel like that's a more fair grade for the published piece.
And how many published pieces, like within a unit?
One at the
That's
very
one.
end.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
very on. Okay.
A lot, you might do an on-demand as well, and you might want to grade that. Keep in mind though, you're gonna need to grade that differently because they've not had all the help and all the support in time. That's a one-time show that they're like, this is all I can do. And we would really want to make sure we're using those as teachers to be sure, like from pre to post, like, okay, we did some amazing things. This is an area that we want to kind of beef up in our next unit because we're still, lacking in conventions or lacking in elaboration or whatever that is.
And that's
But grading's hard. It's hard.
And that's what I've used in the past, like a quick write. End of the week, okay. Either I choose a topic for them or they choose, show me what, can you show me what we've learned in our guided lessons just in that quick write independently?
Yeah.
And that way I know you have it, or if you don't, what we need to work on, but which is the same thing for the on-demand.
Yeah.
It's the same.
And the other thing I've seen work really well, and this was actually in a second grade classroom, but I feel like it would be relevant. I've seen a teacher do like a writing, like they'll write a paragraph about whatever type of writing and say, okay, this is my paragraph and I need your help today. I want you to read it and I want you to think about one thing that Miss Crystal could do to make this better based on everything we've been learning. And they have to reference what is it that you're doing and how would you change it. And right there is a quick grade. And I only ever do like I don't do a full thing. Like I pick a paragraph. Like I might tell them, this is an introduction paragraph. I want you to find something that I can do better. And sometimes kids will change my spelling. Sometimes kids will change my vocabulary and say this is too basic. Sometimes kids will add something on or completely change, like to get your reader's attention or whatever. But that's another way that you can, if you need a quick grade and you really are not feeling like in conferences you have a clear picture of how well are they using all of this information. What if I throw at them a really bad paragraph? What can they do with that?
Because that's what I see in some of our little ones, internalizing. They're struggling.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. How to
Maybe
apply
after
that.
we've done this for long enough,
Yeah.
hopefully, we're
Yeah.
hoping as fourth grade teachers that
Yeah, so that's another thing. So
this is our first year.
and so when we jump kids into, to the 4th and 5th grade units, we're assuming they've had it since kindergarten. We aren't, sorry, but the units are. And there is a set called Up the Ladder. And that really guides them in 4th and 5th grade for everything that they've missed. So all the terminology and language. But we also have to consider that, like when we're teaching these 4th and 5th grade units and our kids haven't had, even if they just had part of it last year, that's not enough either. We really do need to consider that. We should not be getting the work produced like the New York examples. Those are schools that these teachers have been teaching it for 10 years and the students have had them since kindergarten. So we want to make sure that's of course a goal and that's our aim, but that takes time as teachers and as students and as a school in general. Like getting on the same page and really sharing and learning from each other and figuring, okay, how do I keep going? How do I do better? How do I keep doing this work better? What does all this mean? And continuing to work on that together. In one of the schools, in a school in Mexico, I started the units of study. This is their 5th school year. And this is the first school year that every single grade level, year 5, first year that every single grade level has 85% or more at or above level. And granted, there's lots of things. They're all ESL, like we have a lot of transfer students and that kind of stuff. But it took us 5 years to get, that was our goal going into this curriculum. And it took us 5 years. And we actually now think that's going to hit 90% next year, which is amazing. But it's not something that happens overnight or even within a school year. It does take time to see the true big changes. We see the little changes in our classrooms. We see kids wanting to write. We see kids blowing us away by vocabulary and their reasoning and their thinking. But to see it on a big scale and really feel the change is going to take some time.
I know in 4th grade we're coming out with boxes and bullets, and it's been especially helpful for the people I call like men of few words. The boys who will sit and have nothing to write, and they can look at, you know, the concept of a thesis and getting out 3 fingers to go with it and get something on there. And it's really made them a lot more confident in their coaching one another. The other thing is I've seen a huge transfer from that to answering essay questions in reading, answering questions in science. The kids will say, you know, this is my answer and these are my reasons. So if I get nothing more than that this year out of doing that, I'm super pleased with it because I'm seeing a lot of elaboration. And that's, for me, that's been my biggest struggle with writers in the room is the students who don't have ideas.
Yeah,
And,
experience.
you know, I'm thinking, it's like, oh, well,
Yeah.
we're ready because we can do
My
it.
kids keep using the word push. Could I just give them a
Right.
push? And I'll say,
Yeah, see, and that mentality of it's hard, we can do it, we're here to learn from each other, and here we go. And the daily, it's long, you know, 45 minutes is long, we're really trying to fit that in. But the daily grind of doing it makes them comfortable with it, and they see other kids succeeding at it. And they're, I think, more excited this year.
They are. And speaking of coming out boxes and bullets, we were comparing our on-demand from beginning to end with our checklist in hand, and they were celebrating. They were very excited. They wanted to share with each other what they noticed that they were improving on, and then they made it also little marks on things that they knew that they should work to improve in the future. We used those checklists for that, so that was great.
it just amazes me to walk down through our lockers and see where they started and where they took it. That's amazing. Some of them are really.
Yeah.
Some of the lowest ones especially.
Yeah, with a lot of support.
Right, lots of support. But at least they were doing.
Right. It's a struggle. Their attitude is very difficult to overcome.
Yeah.
That learned helplessness.
Yes.
It's very difficult.
For sure.
And you know, like we were using the checklist of the not yet, you know, whatever. Even that one page for some of them is like completely shut down. This is overwhelming. Even just to see on one side of the page, I have to try all these. I have to go back and look through all of these.
That's what I think where you said like choose a couple. We were kind of talking about that the other day, Michelle.
When we were scoring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thinking about like where to
Don't
go from
drive
here.
yourself crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Trying to think of like what do we notice about this writer. We really need to work on just this part and not the whole thing, because you can't do that. But
Yeah.
everyone's learning curve for all of us.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah, on those rubrics and stuff, first of all, feel free to go to a grade level or 2 below, or 3, or 4. I'm serious. You, with the checklists, you want to start them at a place where they feel like, oh, I did that. I did that. And you're like, wow, you did do that. Now let me take you to level 2. Black out the grade level at the top and call it level 1, level 2, level 3, whatever you need to do, but that's huge. And also feel free to cut apart the rubric. You know, screenshot it and just give them like 3 things. Cut it apart and give them, these are the 3 things we're looking for in persuasive writing. You know, for this bend or whatever. And some kids you can give it all to them, others are specific. They can all have different levels of rubrics. The first and second grade ones are still picture oriented. Some of our kids in 4th and 5th still need that. Even some of our good readers still need that because they're like, I don't know what that means. I can read it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So going back and just, you know, blacking out or whiting out the grade level so that they can't have access to that, but it's still good that they're self-assessing and thinking about next steps. And when they feel like they've mastered all that, okay, are you ready? Are you ready to take it to the next level? Like, get your muscles warmed up because this stuff's hard. And give them the next one and make a goal. Like, let's think about one area that we want to focus on first and hone in on that one. And for some of them, if they can't handle the whole thing and just honing in on a piece, cut it apart and just give them, you know, the part that you really want them to work on.
I think part of it too, we always talk about reading stamina. Our kids don't have writing stamina, but they're
It's
starting
better.
to get the stamina needed for writing.
All of the talk through, turn and talk for the strugglers especially, by the time they've turned and said their 3 things 3 or 4 times, and the air writing, you know, it's funny, but it's so necessary because there's so much work. Kids don't know how much work the writing is.
And then that planning and not saying too much on a plan and shifting over to get started and that's all.
And even as adults, like, what does that
art
mean?
in a balance. I know.
Yeah. It's huge.
But if our struggling writers were not in the classroom to hear this stuff, they would really still be struggling. Because
Yes.
I was struggling as a teacher to teach them. I was to the point of frustration, of almost tears one day, because I gave them a template and they literally typed the template. They did not understand it. You've got to put your reason here, not reason one.
Reason one.
And so I paired them the next day with some higher writers and had them listen to their peers, talk to them and go through it, and the what was produced. And I told them, you're not allowed to do it for them. You have to question them and push them, and and it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was like,
Yeah, and that's why I feel like when we're talking about push in and pull out, I feel like if they're capable of being in the mini lesson, it's powerful. It gives them the work that they need with their peers. It gives them the thinking from other students, not adults. And also the writing partnerships that we start creating are powerful. Writing groups, pulling them together, thinking, how do we help him? What ideas can we give him about his writing? Today in the group, the little boy that was writing about the bus drivers. That's a really big and broad idea, and I was trying, like, if it wouldn't have been for the other kids, I was at a loss for an idea, and I was like, guys, how can we help him? Like, as I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, what am I gonna say when they don't have an answer, because I don't have an answer.
He was mine last year, and
they came up with stuff, and they're like, well, you could, and the one little boy on this side was like, he didn't say dialogue, but he talked about adding in, like, dialogue.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yes, this is big.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of times we're like, I have no idea how we're gonna do this, but they have ideas. And I'm like, yes, this is good. In third grade, one of the kids was like, well, this is segregation and I'm gonna talk about it. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And another student was like, you know, when somebody hugs me or smiles at me, it makes me feel welcome. And I was like, I have to walk away because that was too good and you've gotta write it down. But like that's beyond what I was thinking, like beyond even my expectation of their thinking. So really letting them be in these partnerships and pulling these groups and helping each other and building that sense of community in the classroom is also huge for those struggling writers.
And being an inexperienced writing teacher, having those writing partners, which I would never have thought of in the past, the same ones for every lesson for the bend, then this one knows about this writing and this one knows about this writing, and they're now giving them suggestions even if I don't get to them. And they only sit with them in the mini lesson, they don't sit, and to share. And they share with each other, but that's been helpful to me and I never would have thought to do that.
Yeah.
Same partner all the time.
Yeah.
Now, do they keep the same partner for a genre of writing, or is that fluid? How
I've done it with per bend.
Okay, so usually you want these partnerships to be as long as possible. So if you can leave them all year, I would leave them all year. But a lot of times it doesn't work like that. Some kids progress too much. We have, conflicts. They're mad at each other. Mom's mad at dad. Like sometimes it doesn't work.
Put up with them so long.
Yes, sometimes it doesn't work that perfectly, but at least keep them together for the unit is usually my suggestion. And then you can change them up because some units we want them to be more like ability based. Some units we want them to be interest based. Some units we maybe want to pair them up really specifically based on some data or whatever. But I would definitely try to keep them together for at least units because it builds this partnership, like you're saying, around they're coaching each other. They're doing my job. That's exactly what I want them to do.
Because they know what's in there and what they've changed. I don't know what they've changed every day, but they do know.
It also makes it possible for me to do more conferencing because they're not waiting for me with their hand up. They know to go to their partner first. And that usually satisfies whatever question they have.
Yeah.
And I totally had to pair them according to who was not going to hit each other. Or
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I have a question about did you do, so your kids obviously had choice and
This
did
time,
research.
yes.
So did you do a whole group?
Yes.
Is that where you're gum and board sometimes?
We just did 2 choices. She did.
But
let
your
them
kids
choose.
could all choose.
You had the option in this program as for Bend 3
Okay.
to give them another. They could have gone on with the first topic we did. We were
Yeah, so the whole bend 1 and 2 is around a chocolate milk debate.
Okay.
And so then in Ben 3, it encourages them to pick something they're passionate about and redo the whole process that we've all done together. We've given them research. Sometimes it goes into a big debate. Sometimes kids choose to continue working on that original essay.
And I shared with her that Ben 3 is hard because they're all in different places, and for me to feel like I know how to support them all requires checking in all the time, and that, that's challenging.
Yeah.
One of the things that we did, that I went back through Storyworks, the past 7 issues. to
We do
find
the
out
same.
What opinions, that they felt. One, I was like, what would be appropriate for 5th grade, that kind of
Something
thing.
that they truly can relate to.
Well,
Yeah.
they're usually
It's-
pretty engaging.
Yes,
Right.
they are.
And so I made a list and we talked about each one of these, and then I had them to number first, second, third choice.
And I just did what
And
she did.
then we just narrowed it down from there because I knew I could at least find one source. Boom, there it was from our Storyworks. And then, then we researched the other. But
Which is some of them we've done before, but
Thank you, Crystal.
Yes.
but we tried to